I'm so nervous. Get that out the way. What is it? It's September 14th, 5:04. Today's what? Monday. And this is What's the Issue? So what's the issue?
Alright, so today we're going to be talking about just in general what is wrong with people's mindsets as far as approaching life in general. Alright, so what do you think the first problem is with people's mindset to approach to life?
Well, I can't speak for everyone, but in my personal life, it was essentially just being hung up on what other people were doing in their lives. And then, I had to realize that ain't got nothing to do with me. Like, what the next man got going on literally has nothing to do with you. There's nothing you can do about that. All you can do is keep moving forward. Next question.
Alright, so when we were younger coming up, we didn't have the perfect parents. Not everybody has perfect parents. That's to be figured out. But what do you think the first step is to, like, if you're coming up from a ghetto situation, a bad background type of situation where your funds isn't the highest and you're just getting like to the age of 15, 16, where do you think the first step that goes wrong for these young black, white, everybody, like just anybody from the bottom, what's wrong with their first step to life for them to go on to continue to fail?
The belief that working a regular job is not cool. That's the problem. Everybody. So again, we gotta go looking at what everybody else is doing and just do what you can do. Like at 16, I worked at McDonald's, so I had a very different experience versus a bunch of other people because I actually went the job route versus just taking up the streets. But it was crazy because the job that I worked had me more in the streets than being in the streets would have. Because the people I met at the job place, these were grown individuals, and I worked at a rough McDonald's. You know what I'm saying? Right across the street from where we went to school. So I'm 15, 16. I've never been to no jail type of situation. I've never been to no YZ situation, nothing like that in my life. God is good, so none of that's ever happened. But I'm sitting at McDonald's. I'm working with convicted felons. You know what I'm saying? I got them guys like, hey, what we doing? So now I'm hanging out I'm going to school with these niggas and all that good stuff. But I'm chilling with grown people that's already been through the shit, and they'll tell you, choose another route type shit. But I like getting a paycheck every 2 weeks, expecting that in my bank account. Hey, that was solid for me. So I couldn't complain. Yeah, I couldn't complain. I put in a bunch of overtime, and like they talking about ain't no money in McDonald's, bro. I was at McDonald's making about $500-600 a check. I put in overtime and I got the check every time. So for me it was smooth. Yeah, the job route for me was smooth. Yeah.
So for those that like play sports and shit like that, that time is a little bit more consumed than the average. But for the average that likes to quote unquote gangbang on the side, or they just in generally go home and maybe hang out with their friends on the side, what would your advice be to them at the age of 14, 15, and 16?
Be a child. Go to school, do what your people want you to do, because there's gonna be more than enough time to do what you want to do later on. Just be a kid. If you balling, playing ball, excel at that. Be really good at that, because you could go up. There's no telling where you could be tomorrow. So if you're talented at something, or your people's been having you in that, stay in that and just follow that, because that's gonna be better than what's out here. But for the ones who are choosing that route because, you know what I'm saying, ain't no other choice, ain't no other way, and they got to get it, I cannot fault them. But at the same time, while you're doing what you're doing, always have your mindset on how am I going to get up out this.
Right.
Always have your mindset on what you're going to do to get, to find, you got to have a plan on getting your way out. Don't just let it be that. For me in my personal life, my biggest issue was I didn't have a car to take me from where I was to where I needed to be, which was where all the good jobs were. Like, we live in Louisville, so in the ghetto ain't nothing but a bunch of strip clubs, a bunch of gas stations. What else we got out there? A bunch of corner stores, if you want to call them gas stations. You know what I'm saying? And, little chicken shop, little shicky shacky shops all along the way. So really ain't nowhere for you to get a job. All the jobs is out, the non-member side. That's where it's all at. So once you're able to get you an automobile, find your way out there, you'll be able to get you some real money.
So you bring up a good point. Now, I don't know, I can't speak to if you've ever lived that type of lifestyle, but for the people that are living the worst route, let's say drug dealing, gang banging, maybe robberies on the side or anything like that, you said a way out. Can you tell me something of a way out, like going to get a home, or like what should a way out? What does a way out mean to you? Basically, just to you.
For me, I cannot. Again, I can't fault anybody that lives that way because I understand. Okay, so essentially, somebody, OG, had broke it down for me. He had told me just like this here. The reason why you can't make a real hustler quit hustling, it would be the same as trying to tell an entrepreneur to quit being an entrepreneur and go get a job and work for somebody else. They just couldn't do it. It's not in them to go do that. That's cool and stuff, but actually have you something legitimate that you're working on actually getting established. And if you don't want to actually do nothing like that, learn how to invest that money. Really, learn how to invest that money. I mean, if you're getting that money, quote unquote, like you say you are, find you a way to invest that money. You don't even have to. If you stock invest, that's great. Literally, you open an account, you throw the money in there, you let it sit in the Robinhood account or whatever. I use Robinhood. I'm not paid to plug them or nothing like that. I just use them because they're effective for me and they've helped me, win a couple of dollars. So shout out to them. But at the same time, just find you something you can put your money into that is gonna actually pay off some dividends later, and then you can do what you want in the meantime, between time. And now you have to think about that. And that's again if you just don't want to go the job route. But at the same time, everybody got to work for somebody till they see exactly what it's like to work for yourself. Because if you in that shit, unless you're learning how to keep books, if you're not learning how to keep records, if you're not learning if you're not learning the laws, about what you're doing exactly and what you're moving and how much time you're getting for whatever, if you're not understanding how much you're paying a lawyer, get out that shit. If you're not willing to actually learn, but if you're willing to learn and you know what you're getting yourself into, can't nobody fault you. You a grown man that made a grown man decision. But at the same time, don't get lost in that shit because ain't no going back.